The Creative Process Podcast with Peter Papadurgi and Catherine Vitale.
Welcome to the premiere episode of the Creative Process Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Papagiorgio, and my co-host is my beautiful wife,
Catherine Vitale, and our little baby Chihuahua mix, Chanel Bella.
Chanel. Look at the camera. Look at show the audience our dog Chanel. Look at that cute face, huh? She's so precious. Anyway,
the show is about the creative process, right?
And basically, how do you get to that creative process?
Yeah.
And what are the stumbling blocks?
Yeah.
To get to that creative process. So
the madness it takes to create something from nothing.
That's true. Yeah.
And the patience and the talent and the chaos that you have to go through in order to get that.
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
Hopefully a masterpiece. But, Anyway, so our first guest is Cynthia Vespia. Catherine, tell the audience a little bit about Cynthia Vespia.
Well, I met Cynthia many years ago.
Tell her
and
bio.
She's a wonderful writer. She's written several books that we have profiled here, but she's a creative force in just writing these fantasy books, and her imagination is incredible.
Let's just say it's off the hook.
Actually, I really love Cynthia's work.
Thank you.
And I really think you're very talented.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, you guys. I'm honored to be like the first episode of the Creative.
The first episode. So
Cynthia.
we love her. Anyway, so tell us your process. Tell us
first let's listen. Let's tell the audience a little bit about Cynthia. Tell us.
You want me to go ahead and tell my bio?
Yeah, tell your bio.
So I've been writing since I was about 18 years old, fresh out of high school.
So about 5 years now?
Yeah, exactly. I love this show already. I used to read a lot as a kid, so I guess that just naturally gravitated into wanting to write.
Now, when you said you used to read a lot, like what did you read?
I grew up on fantasy, so that's always been my first love. So I read like Chronicles of Narnia and some of the Piers Anthony stuff, and then a lot of comic books too. My brother is actually the one who we used to read together. So. And then
Marvel comic books, DC.
Yeah, the Punisher was my favorite. Still is to this day. So just reading a lot made me want to become a writer. Actually, it was when I was in high school I read Dean Koontz novel called Intensity, and for some reason that one stood out to me and made me say, hey, this moved me so much. I want to do that for other readers. So then I started writing from there, and that was like I said back in high school. So
talk about your dad and his influence, because we all knew your dad.
Well, my dad was an entertainer on the Strip for about 20 years. He used to sing opera, and he did comedy bits. So,
I didn't know he sang opera, but...
You didn't know he sang opera? Are you kidding? Yeah, he should have been a superstar. I actually just posted a video on my Facebook. We were in Italy, and he just broke out singing, and everybody loved it. So, yeah, my whole family is entertainment based.
Well, I remember you had shown us the video of your parents were on...
They were on the Groucho Marx show, many years ago, and they pulled my mom out of the audience, and she actually asked Groucho Marx if he would let my father sing, and he did, and it was a great moment that we still have to this day. My parents are no longer with us, so it's great to have.
They were married at the time too?
They were freshly married. They had just had my oldest sister, Cecilia, so it was fun to see.
Well, that's great, yeah. Wow.
And how many siblings do you have?
Quite a few. I was the youngest of 8. So
8?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, your dad was busy.
He's Italian. What do you want?
8 is enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've just been in love with writing for a very long time, and my creative process has grown over the years as I've tried to flesh out new stories and ideas, and it also honestly comes from reading a lot. And I hate to say it, but watching a lot of TV and movies also, because if they're good, the characters and the storylines are fleshed out in a way that you can visually see it, but also because I'm a storyteller, I can see the way they put the puzzle pieces together. So,
What's your favorite show that's on now?
My favorite show that's on right now, strangely, I've been watching a show called Motherland Fort Salem, which is about teenage witches. So it's more of a young adult story, but I've been enjoying it because
is it on cable? Or?
it's on a channel called Freeform. But the reason I like it is because it's a unique story idea. I like the presentation of it.
What is the presentation?
Basically, it's a military of witches. These young women go in like it's the military, and they're the defense of the state and the country. And it follows these three.
Are they good witches or bad witches?
It depends. It always depends. So that and because there's a military aspect of it, so there's an ulterior motive. But the three ladies who are the main central characters were actually a little bit of an inspiration for my new novel, Vegas Valkyries, because I also have a trio in there that was like very similar.
Does it take place present day or future? Probably future. Right?
My book or the show?
No, the show.
The show is sort of present day, more fantasy-esque. Yeah.
Okay.
So tell us your process when you have a new idea for a book.
How do you start writing? How do you start?
Because
you got
people
the blank
are
piece of
always,
page,
always
right?
looking. I mean, I feel I started writing now, and the start of it all. You look at the blank.
Well, when you said earlier the creative process is kind of madness, you're right.
It is.
Like I said, my creative process has changed over the years. I used to approach it like when I used to be an athlete, I would just be balls to the wall, smash mouth. Now, as I'm veering into more series and trilogies, I tend to flush it out more so that I know the correlation between book one and book two, and the little seeds you have to plant throughout the series to make the reader, you kind of reward the reader. Oh, I remember when this happened. So, back in book one. Basically what happens is I'll get my ideas randomly. Sort of, I don't want to get too metaphysical, but
don't do it.
Okay, well,
this is what people want to know.
Yeah.
Because when I think of ideas, it's in my dreams.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, do you dream like when you're in the middle of a project and you go to sleep because you just wrote something and you go to sleep, your mind is continually thinking, and I have dreams or scenic, whatever you want to call it, of what the next chapter should be or the next scene should be.
I don't have dreams like that have ever related into storylines, but like I said, I'll get them randomly. I got an idea when I was in yoga. I got an idea from looking at a statue.
Wow.
When you were in yoga, what was the idea?
It was one of my earlier novels. It was about an escaped convict from a women's prison, and actually that one got a little weird. I actually took a trip to Alcatraz, and I took a picture in one of the jail cells.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, I took a picture in one of the jail cells, and I feel like I left with some kind of presence on me, because when I was writing this book, Sins and Virtues, I started seeing these visions that I had no business knowing about a guy trying to escape with the mess hall, and there was a knife fight and stuff like that. And it was very vivid. And then when I was done writing the book, it kind of dissipated from me. So you never know.
Did you kind of feel spooked out about it?
I felt a little spooked out about it. Yeah.
Wow. Do you believe in spirits?
Absolutely.
Evil?
Yes.
Evil versus good?
Sure. And what troubles me about it is if I can't see it, how do you fight it?
Exactly.
So, have you had any incidents?
I've had back when I used to live in my parents' house, I had a few things that happened. A friend of mine was coming over to pick me up, and he said, "Well, I'm here. I see you moving around upstairs." And I said, "I'm not upstairs. Nobody's upstairs." He was very in tune with that kind of thing. So he said, "I'm never coming back here again."
I've had experiences with ghosts and so forth, and you think it's your imagination, but it's not, and it can be used in your work too. It
can, yeah. Like I was saying, just when the ideas come to me, I just run with them. It's an initial spark of an idea or a character and then I just flesh it out from there. They don't always work, but that's why I try to sit down and flesh it out and see if it's gonna be a story idea. I've done some in the past that I'm just not. They just haven't clicked in a way that I want to write a full book about them.
How do you flesh out your ideas?
So essentially, I will start with a spark of an idea, and in the writing world, it's called we're either called plantsters or plotters. What the pantsters are essentially, you go up by the seat of your pants and you just write, from the cuff.
So it's more discovery.
Exactly. Well, and then the plotters are more, they fine tune everything. They write down every single detail. I'm a little bit more in the center of that because I'll flush it out to a degree where I know where the story's going. I know who my characters are, but I don't want to lose that initial like surprise that comes with the organics of writing, because that's the whole fun of it. You know, it's in the discovery of let's leave enough room open for the characters to take you where they're going to take you, and the fun part is it surprises me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Because the characters they basically they come to life.
They do.
So they kind of start steering you.
Yeah. Or you start in your mind, you start hearing them talk to each other, and it's crazy because that's like part of the madness that we talked about too. Because I know I've had characters start talking to me. You know, I'm an actress, but when I start writing, I have characters like are talking to me and they're like trying to get out.
Right. And then you have to let them out. And it's funny because when I finished Vegas Valkyries, even though I had a little bit of trouble writing it, like I found when I finished, I really enjoyed these characters, these three Valkyrie. They're three completely different people that I plopped into this world. And I found that they're different and their storylines are different, but they are also a team, so they kind of complement each other. And that was the fun of it. And then, of course, I love writing villains, too. So
I can see that.
I have an entire villain set within this new story.
It's always fun writing villains anyway.
Well, you take the handcuffs off and they can essentially do whatever they want. And because mine are like from Helheim, the Norse mythology, they can really do whatever they want. So I got to explore that side of it too. And then when it's basically a good versus evil clash at the end of this. But like I said again, and fight time comes to Vegas in a more of a supernatural way. So it was fun.
Do you ever get a point where the story is not working, the idea is not working?
And when that
you're
happens,
frustrated.
do you just like take it and put it away and forget about it?
I have, and I have. And I've put it away, and I'll start maybe working on a different idea because I have so many ideas floating around in my head to begin with. So if one of them's not working, I'll maybe jump to another story, and then I can go back, once I've freed up a little bit and find out why is this not working. I had that happen to me when I was writing Silky Strike Force, my superhero series. I had written the first one so many years before that when I got into the second one, I was kind of lost. I didn't remember the characters. I didn't know where I was going with the story, and I wound up watching a TV show called Smallville, and then that's when things started to click because I was like, oh, wait a minute. If I, not that I took ideas from the series, but the things that they did in the show kind of clicked with me, and I came up with my own ideas that were sort of, could gravitate into my world. So if you just set it aside for a minute and take a break, take a breather, don't hold on to it so much like you're so tight and tense with it. Again, same thing with Vegas Valkyries. Because I was doing so much Norse mythology and research, it started to get a little bit heavy for me, and the creative flow stopped. So what I had to do...
That's scary when it stops.
Yeah, it stopped because I had to I'm writing in the middle of a sentence. I'm like, well, what is that? What happens there? So I have to go and research it, and it kind of made it a little bit choppy. But then it started to pick up again later on when I knew, I had some more inspiration for that one was I was playing a game called Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I got at the perfect time because when I'm playing this game too relaxed, but they're also dropping hints of Norse mythology. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So not only I took a break from the book, but I'm also still learning about my story ideas so I can, relax, but also get ideas at the same time. It was perfect timing.
Do you ever get to the point where you just finished your book and it's like, I hope I can write again?
I haven't had that because, like I said, I have a full notebook of ideas that I'm waiting to get to. I have stuff on the back burner that I'm excited about. More often than not, I'm like, you got to push through and finish this because I need to get to this book over here that I've been waiting to do. So
that's kind of like what a new writer, like when you're new at writing, you have one idea, you want to flesh it out, you get a chance to do so, and then you're like, okay, I don't know what else to write because you have this one idea. So I think as a new writer, you're kind of like, all right, I'm so concentrated on that. And then once you finish it, then you're like, that scary thought that you can't write anything else.
Right. It depends. Some new writers come up with full series ideas, but if you do fall into that trap of I've written this one book, can I write another one? it's okay to take a break and try to discover, read some other authors and then maybe ideas will come to you. I've been doing this for so long that the ideas are just like crammed in the back of my head.
They need to come out. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I thought I was coming towards maybe the end of my ideas, and then I got another one, and then I got another one, and then I decided to turn Lucky Sevens into a full-blown trilogy. So,
do you want to tell the audience what Lucky Sevens is about?
Absolutely. So I wrote that a couple years back, and it was a love letter to Las Vegas because I'd seen so many stories done in the past in Las Vegas, and they were very, cookie cutter, sugar coated kind of a world. Not saying that Vegas is so dark and dreary, but I wanted to get into the realism of it. So I actually had a lot of fun, fleshing out these characters and this world. That one's one of my favorites that I've ever written. But it was always meant to be a standalone originally, until, like I said, the ideas started coming. And I said, wait a minute. What if that character arc is fine, that's done. What if I introduce new characters into the same world? So that's where I came up with the Vegas Valkyries idea, and then I have one more after that, which is going to be the conclusion of the trilogy. So essentially, what's tying these together is not the traditional type of a series where it's the same character going through different adventures. Mm-hmm. It's the same area, it's the same theme, it's all based in Las Vegas, it's supernatural based, but it's different characters with different adventures. So it's sort of a different spin on the trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what about
so Vegas is just a backdrop?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the book cover, which is the ultimate, marketing.
We judge books by their cover, right?
Yeah, we do.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. What's your technique or tricks? How do you come up with the cover of the book?
So my process with that is I'll go and I'll look at covers in the same genre. I like to go to the bookstore and hold them in my hands and see what's working and what isn't. But then I will put my own spin on it because otherwise you get all the covers looking the same and then you can't differentiate who is the author. But I always put my certain little stamp on it. I've got the specific colors that I like. You'll see that these are matching. Imagery is very important. It's got to be striking. And, when I go to Comic-Cons and so forth, my covers are, what draws people over. I like this cover. What's the story about? And that's the important part about your cover. You don't want that to always look the same because, people will think, I read this already. So,
yeah.
For instance, with Lucky Sevens, when I originally put it out, it was, it looked very literary. It was more like a clear depiction of Las Vegas with dice on it. It was very light and blue and so forth.
Typical.
Yeah, but when I rewrote the trilogy, I really wanted to punch up the supernatural element of it because that's what a lot of readers had touched on. They're like, I would have liked to seen more magic. Okay, so I'm redoing it, so I put in more magic, and I wanted to depict that in the cover, so that's why you have the lead bad guy is on the front, magic based. It's very dark. It's kind of ominous. Same thing with Vegas Valkyries. They sort of matched up. And I was fortunate that I found imagery that I could use that is very similar to each other. So it's kind of cool. I actually wound up giving Vegas Valkyries to a fan, not a fan, but I'm a fan of hers. I actually wound up giving it to her, and she's like, I love this cover. So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
It has to be striking when I'm making them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and do you have someone do it? I mean, is that what you...
I do it myself.
You do it yourself.
If I can cut out the middleman, I'll do it. Just because I like to be I don't want to say in control of that process, but yeah, I want to be in control. I know the vision that I'm looking for. The only time I've outsourced it is when I needed a superhero drawn, and I can't do that type of artwork. So that's when I outsourced it for my Silky Strike Force series.
Right,
Nice.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to wrap up the show. So do you want to tell the audience, Cynthia, your contact
website?
information, your website? And everything?
Absolutely. I have my website at cynthiavespia.com. That's VSPIA. And then you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram under the handle Original Sin Writes.
Original Sin, CYN.
Original Sins.
CYN. Exactly, yeah.
Well, thank you, Cynthia, for being on the first episode
Thank you.
Thanks for having
of the
me.
Creative Process Podcast. Catherine?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And the creative process, it continues.
We'll see you on the next show. Do, 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 do.